Okay, friends, so I know what you are all waiting for now. Today's keynote is going to be delivered by Dr. Rohini Srivathsa. She works with Microsoft India as the National Technology Officer and Head of Strategy. She leads strategic initiatives accelerating digital transformation across industries, education sector, and the government. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and join me in welcoming Dr. Rohini Srivathsa.
Thank you very much, Amit.
Thank you, Rohini, for joining us. It's a pleasure to host you today in front of the community.
Thank you.
Yes, this is the clicker.
Okay, perfect.
Down is the next.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So good morning, everyone. I have to commend you that you are here on a Saturday morning, bright and early, ready to learn. That's actually a very good sign in itself. Because in today's day and age, each one of us, including myself, is constantly running, constantly trying to learn in as many ways as possible. Because that is the pace at which things are moving, whether it's on the business side or on the technology side. And what I wanted to do was spend today maybe about 30-35 minutes or so talking about some of the things that perhaps you've heard about in the previous keynote, but I want to link a particular theme there that in the way we are seeing worlds move forward, the digital and the physical worlds are starting to coalesce. And if you think about your own self, you are here, but there are your likes and your tweets and your posts and a lot of the digital footprint that you have. There is an avatar, if you think of yourself, a digital avatar which is up on the cloud, and there are tons of algorithms that are churning that data and trying to figure out what to sell to you, where should you go on vacation, what should you read, and who should you go out on a date with, all right? So you already, each one of you have a digital avatar out there, right? So the question is that, and then you start to also expect that, let's say I go out for shopping or I'm looking for a particular kind of movie, I'm suddenly now start to see, for example, ads about clothes or apparel or fashion that are from that movie. So you're going to start to expect that. You're going to start to expect that your digital avatar in some sense is tracking you, and you are, you know, your life is working closely with that. So that's the main theme that I want to run today. And the way in which that plays out is, of course, when we come to the technology world, which all of you are technologists, is in some of the trends that we see in terms of artificial intelligence and IoT, etc. Incidentally, I was sitting there last year at this conference and actually learned a lot. I was about to join Microsoft, so Microsoft is about less than a year old, and I was keen to see from that side as to what developers and partners think about Microsoft. So it's an interesting journey that I've had over the last year for this event itself. So like I said, the way in which we are looking at the digital world in terms of products that want to become smarter, service ecosystems, connected customers, and the fact that the physical world is starting to get more and more digitized. So in a sense, when we talk about the fourth industrial revolution, that is what is the journey that we are on. And the kind of technologies that are enabling that have to do with, of course, sensors, actuators, and if, you know, my undergrad long time back was in instrumentation, and we actually used to, you know, talk about sensors and actuators. That's kind of control systems, and, you know, that's coming back in its big way because now it's everywhere. It's not just in plants or aircraft engines, it's everywhere. So let's kind of go down a little bit path and just talk about, so obviously you would have seen the intelligent cloud and intelligent edge, and that theme actually matters because the way data is exploding, you will see data in the cloud. You will see ability to analyze that in the cloud and drive intelligence from it, but you will also see more and more data that is sitting in the edge devices that you're connecting to and driving intelligence from that. And that is across different industry segments, whether you look at oil and gas, whether you look at some of the more traditional industries. They are going through transformation in different ways. A couple of days back, I was in a roundtable in Mumbai talking about AI in the manufacturing sector. And clearly that industry is going through its own transformation across different dimensions. And the challenges about what data exists, how best to digitize it, how best to leverage it, what are the challenges of the people in terms of actually using that data, all of those issues were being discussed. But if you look across different industries, every single industry is going through its own challenges and its own transformation. And the kind of numbers of what is possible with data in these industries and different organizations is not a couple of % here and there. These are not small numbers, these are big numbers. These are big numbers in terms of what is possible in terms of customer satisfaction or sales, etc. So it's that, and that is another point that we were discussing, that we've come to think about AI and data as tools enablers, but there's a mind shift required. A mind shift is required in many industries where you are starting to think about data as the business. You're starting to think of the AI as the core of your business. And not every company is there. It's a mind shift. Because if you start to think about you have a business and now what can I do with data to kind of support it, you are thinking somewhat marginally. But when you do that mind shift to say that if data is my business, what's possible, then you can see numbers which are of a very different order of magnitude. So I'll take 3 themes for today's conversation, and it's a short time, so we obviously cannot spend time on each one of them, but I want to draw that parallel that when you start to see some of these shifts, as you think about your organizations, your customers, and the products and solutions that you develop, you need to start having those mind shifts. And one comment which I would make before I jump into this is, we all talk about data, and we talk about data as being used for prediction. Prediction at the end of the day is a model of the past. At the end of the day, a prediction can tell you only what happened in the past. You can do certain randomizations and certain algorithmic tweaks to it to create futures. But the reality of the way we are going in technology is that it is not going to be like the past. It is going to be quite different. And therefore, again, the point I would make is, that is why you need to start thinking about what is possible. What are use cases? What is possible? It is not just a projection. It's not just an extrapolation of what happened in the past. And that then requires people to take a look at their business in a different way, and you start to think, okay, so if that is possible, what does it mean to my business? And you kind of work backwards in some sense. But let's just look at a few examples here.
80% of the world's population has no access to reliable, affordable healthcare.
We believe that machine learning and artificial intelligence will make healthcare affordable and accessible to the world's population.
We've set up an entire analytics vertical in-house on Microsoft SQL and Power BI to derive optimum business and clinical value. We started regularly analyzing multiple data points around lab tests in one of our units, and within a month we saw a 60% increase in efficiency across the processes, and close to 95% of the lab tests were turned around in less than 2 hours.
We can accurately forecast under or overstaffing in real time. We can even predict patient volumes.
Our AI team has developed a product which can differentiate between the normal and abnormal X-rays.
My goal is to make sure that everyone on this planet has access to high-tech healthcare with dignity.
So this is it's not a very, I would say, wow kind of AI example. But the reason I like to use this is because Narayana Health went down this path of having a data strategy and thinking about cloud and thinking about their path almost 4-5 years back. which is why they started this journey of using BI, of course, using some analytical solutions, being able to get efficiencies out of their system. But now they are at a path where they have the kind of data estate and the modernization and the ability to think about their organization also as being a data-driven organization, that they are able to use some of the AI algorithms. That's the other part that I want to talk about, because in some ways people get wowed by AI, but at the end of the day, it is about being able to think about your data in a strategic manner. So Microsoft, from an AI perspective, and has been working in research in this space for quite a long time. I myself have had the privilege of working in this space in my previous career avatar when I was a researcher myself in the early 90s. And clearly, a lot of algorithms have been developed in this space, and where the impact is now being seen, the algorithms are able to use the compute power and the data that is now available to create an impact, which was not the case earlier. The algorithms were mostly math. They were not able to really do much, which is the kind of world in which I was doing some research in. But the reality of some of these breakthrough researches is that what we are looking at in Microsoft is taking that and bringing it out there in terms of our AI platform. And I'm assuming some of you are, how many of you work with Microsoft's AI's either services or the platform or any cognitive elements? Okay, some of you are there, okay. I'll tailor accordingly. So the traditional way in which, or at least the analytics community, and especially in certain industries, the analytics community has been alive and well for quite a long time. If you look at the airline industry, or if you look at logistics, or if you look at any of the industries which is data-driven, telecom, right, which has been data-driven and has been digitized, and where efficiencies are important, people have been using data in various ways. But the traditional way has been of bringing the data, cleaning it up, trying to draw insights out of it, trying to figure out what models you can create, then deploying it. But we've come a long way from there. A long way from there, in a way that today a lot of people can do significant amount of work with data, with analytics and AI, without actually being a data scientist. Now, I have to wear two hats, one of a data scientist and second of an engineer. Even if you are an engineer and you don't know much about data science, you should try to find out algorithms and what their challenges are, what the limitations are. But the reality is, you don't have to do everything the hard way, meaning you don't have to do all the plumbing the hard way. So what the Microsoft AI platform is giving you is a whole bunch of infrastructure tools and services to be able to do this with a clear path to value, with a clear data pipeline that you can use, ability to try different algorithms, and ability to use tools which are both state-of-the-art as well as open source. So I'll just draw a couple of attention. So on the infrastructure side, the overall AI platform has all the tools that you would require for data and compute, and including the hardware layer with CPUs, FPGAs, and GPUs. Then on the services side, it is, I would think of it as almost broken into 3 or 4 buckets, if you will. There is one bucket of sort of pre-built AI, which you can think of as literally AI cognitive services that you can use in your applications as developers. Now clearly there will be some training required depending on your use case to make it more accurate, more usable. But there is a lot that you can do right off the shelf. So that is, sorry, that is for somebody who is looking to have something which is pre-built as a platform as a service. The second variety would be of things which are bots. Bots have become quite popular and people are using them. Now bot you can actually create, we all know a bot can be created by just scraping a website. That can be a bot too. But a bot which if it has to be actually some intelligent and be able to do question and answer in a way from a knowledge corpus, in a way that is meaningful and be able to figure out intents and be able to figure out what is the right entities within the corpus, that needs to have some more sophistication than just a simple web scraper. That is the kind of bot that you can build using our conversational AI. And the third is more custom AI. And I'll spend a little bit of a time on each one of them. The cognitive services, let me just go down, and I'll move this a little bit fast. When we think about cognitive services, and this actually also goes back to the earlier point I was making about the intelligence, the cloud and the edge intelligence, and sort of that idea about the digital and physical meeting together. But you start to see some of these services which are starting to become much and more available as pretty much a pick and use service. So I'll go down this fast. Across language, vision in terms of ink organizer, so you can write down the API can read what you have written down to a reasonable accuracy. You can create text to speech type of capabilities, transcription capabilities, and multiple similar across the board. So I'll just kind of click down here. So this area of cognitive services by and large, which I would call as pre-trained AI services, is an evolving era and will keep moving. We'll keep adding things to this. So whether it is in the area of decision making, whether it's in the area of vision, language, speech, video, search, intelligence serve, knowledge mining, this area is going to keep growing. Because in a way, what we are thinking about is that we have research. When I say we, Microsoft has research work going on. We want to shrink wrap this and get it available to the developer community as quickly as possible so that you can use it without having to do all the work from the grounds up, right? So that's the part about the cognitive services. And the other part about the cognitive services, you also want to be able to use these wherever the data resides. So if I go back to my earlier point about the cloud and the edge, you want to be able to containerize this and use it at the edge as required. So it is not just every time you have something, the concerns about, my data is here and I don't want to actually export it. Well, it's possible to do it where your data is without having to worry about those concerns. Okay. The second point which I mentioned is about bots. And given that from a customer engagement, employee engagement, many of the interactions we have, bots and voice-driven bots and other variations of it are going to become important. There is a framework that is available on the Azure AI platform that allows you to create bots very quickly. And like I mentioned earlier, an intelligent bot which has knowledge capabilities inside it, Q and answer capabilities inside it, some amount of NLP capabilities inside it. Okay, that is required before you can start to say that I can use it on any domain and actually have something intelligent beyond a search. Okay. Now if we come to the third point which I was mentioning, so there was cognitive services, bots, and if I go to machine learning, now you're saying now I'm a data scientist. Okay, so the other two were more engineers, you're probably not a data scientist, but now you're saying, okay, I am a data scientist and I want to be able to use the Azure platform. My data is growing. I want to be able to have a place where the data can reside, and I want to work with it intelligently, scalably. I want to use GPUs if I need to, etc., etc. Now, if you are a data scientist, so what do you want to do? Well, there are techniques on AutoML nowadays, right? Things which you want to be able to tell an automated algorithm to suggest to you based on the data characteristics or based on your requirements, what kind of machine learning algorithm you should use, right? So some of those are available. Frameworks are available if you are available with, if comfortable with TensorFlow or scikit-learn, all of that is available because people are comfortable with what they've used, right? Those are available. Now, if you go down to infrastructure side, you want to try out, what your algorithm might do. If you can use a series of GPU workloads for it, then that is available. So in a way, what you have for the machine learning data scientist is a bouquet of things to be able to use based on your requirement, based on how custom you want to go, based on how much you want the machine to help you with algorithm suggestions. That whole gamut of things then become available on Azure from a machine learning perspective. But now the question is that And that's another thing that people like me who spend the old days in analytics and machine learning, well, you create a model, now how are you going to manage it? Just like when you deploy a particular application, you've got to manage the life cycle of the application, even through the development process. From a simplified machine learning process, I already talked about the fact that there is auto ML, and oh, by the way, these are, I'm not going to do it, but these are, you can go and see visual interfaces and very easy to use Python notebooks that you can use directly on Azure to be able to work very seamlessly. It's actually quite a lot of fun. For somebody like me that drag and drop and like, wow, you're so spoiled, honestly. But yeah, but there's a lot available that you can just start to use right away. Just like you folks are familiar with DevOps, the whole concept of using machine learning modeling life cycle, that is the other aspect that every model has, once it's deployed, needs to be governed, needs to be understood whether it is still valid, whether it has lost its assumptions, whether data has changed. So you need to also be able to do model life cycle management. So that is another thing that from a machine learning operations perspective that MLOps provides in terms of using model after deployment. Can you make sure it is tested? Can you validate it? Can you make sure it is retrained? And can you manage the life cycle? So what is all this giving to us? I mean, I'm just going a little bit deeper into the AI part of it. What is it giving you is that that's what you are able to do once you have your data, to be able to use AI algorithms to get intelligence into your systems, right? And you want to be able to do that with through the whole overall life cycle of the machine learning process. Build and train, deploy the models, validate the models, and deploy them. Let's go to the next part of the overall theme that I was talking about in terms of the digital and physical. So there is a data element of it, there's algorithms element of it that will work on the data to create new possibilities. But if I think about IoT is that link, Internet of Things. IoT is that link between the physical world and the digital world. And one can think of IoTs as simple devices that are phones. In some respects, people are carrying devices with each other. But the more traditional view of IoTs would be devices that you might plug into, let's say, agriculture, or you might plug into healthcare in terms of diagnostics or industrial plants, and be able to use that to create digital model of the world to then run AI on it. So then AI forms that link between how you bring the physical world to the digital world and create intelligence. So I'll just take you through, let me roll this video and just understand how Microsoft is thinking about it.
Ever wonder what the future holds? Imagine if you could connect the dots to see beyond where your business is today to where it could be in the future. Would you begin to see ways to make improvements? Or see what once seemed impossible is now within reach? Technology is rapidly accelerating the transformation of your business. It's changing the way we work. Imagine if the most vital parts of your business were connected: people, assets, processes, and systems. Everything from your factory floor to the field. With the Internet of Things, they can be. And simple changes can transform your business right now. With the Internet of Things, you can extend your business's reach and make better use of its resources. Data that was untapped is now an asset. Critical issues can be solved in real time. You can see ways to make the most of every moment. The reasons why you should embrace the Internet of Things are clear. But how do you get started? At Microsoft, we believe the Internet of Things begins with your things, the things that matter most to your business. Start from where you are and build from there. Make the most of systems you already have. Use familiar devices of services in new ways. move seamlessly between the edge and the cloud, and solve for the hardest part of IoT, security. Microsoft can help you accelerate your IoT journey while working with partners you know and trust. Using the industry's most comprehensive portfolio, turn your data into insights and your insights into actions, so you can transform your business. Because when your business is connected, the possibilities are endless.
So I think the thing that happens with IoT and the journey I've been on, I hold myself back a little bit and think, technology has to be thought through from a business lens. You cannot just think of technology because it's nice and it's out there to just apply it. So the thing that you have to then, if you are able to look at these technologies, you need to think about where in my business do they create value and how do I drive that value? And that is the hard part, and that's the hard part, to be able to both visualize, quantify, define what success might look like, and therefore roll out. So the possibilities are there, but I think it becomes for all of us to determine how we are going to actually leverage it. From a Microsoft perspective, there's a whole range of, I'm going to move fast through this because I want to make sure. There's a whole range of services, both from a managed perspective in terms of an IoT Central to allow you to manage your IoT system, as well as if you want to build your own in terms of custom solution, both from accelerators perspective and be able to do messaging and analytics on your devices. That is available. I won't spend too much time onto this, but there is tons out there, and it is growing our investments in the IoT world. Whether it is in the IoT sphere, which is a full OS that is available to apply to deploy at the edge, as well as from an integration perspective. And a lot of this then starts to make sense in the context of an industry, which is what the comment I was making earlier. It starts to make sense in the context of a business problem, in the context of the problem you're trying to solve. So the one that I'd like to talk about, given it's close to, I guess, many of our hearts, and it's an important problem. Let me just quickly show this to you as to an important problem that will be a global problem, how IoT is actually helping.
Farming has changed dramatically over the last 20, 30, 40 years.
SCADA Farm is a software solution that's been used by farmers in New Zealand. The software servers are connected to the irrigators and to the pumps. It allows us to adjust the amount of water we apply to the land, and it can integrate with the weather forecasts that are coming and make adjustments on the fly to the irrigator.
The machine might be saving up to 50% of its allocated water use, and I could contribute that to the efficient use of SCADA Farm. I wouldn't go back without it.
Built on Azure IoT, Schneider Electric allows us to collect and analyse the data needed to deliver the insights our customers require to stay competitive. To transform the way we farm, we need a trusted cloud platform that is as global and local as our own industry. And that's why we went with Schneider Electric and Microsoft.
So what's happened here? I mean, here, if I think about it, there is a business problem clearly, and actually a social problem, if I want to call it that way, actually a global problem, and a partner, Schneider, that has used the Azure platform to create a solution that's solving a business problem. So that is the triangle that we need to make sure we are connecting. Just going down the theme. So to me, then IoT becomes the way to take my physical world to the digital world. That's what it is, right? It's taking my physical world and making it more and more digital. And what I would want to make digital is where I can drive business value from. I wouldn't just go put IoT sensors everywhere, right? I will make. Now, if I think about what's possible, if a lot of my world is digital, and I have got a model, some kind of a digital version of things that matter to me, whether it's at home or whether it's in the education world, healthcare, etc. What kind of things can I do? And that opens up a whole different set of possibilities. Because now you can start to think about physical things in their digital avatar and interact with the digital avatar in a different way and let your imagination go wild in terms of what kinds of things you can do, right? So I'd like to throw a few examples at you. This is a very, I would say, exciting area, and I feel that just imagination is the limitation to what you can do in this space, quite honestly. And so I'll throw out a few examples with you given my time, but leave you with that, I guess, desire to learn and think about in your problem domains, what can the fact that the digital world will start to model more and more of your physical world, what does it mean for you? Okay. So few examples, of course, in terms of what we are seeing and we are thinking about how the mixed reality or the digital avatar of things can help do, of course, in remote assistance or in terms of training. So for example, think about in the healthcare world, right? They have very high attrition of nurses. How do you want to train nurses to provide the right equipment to the surgeon in the operation theater without it being a major loss of human, I mean, major challenge, right? And you can't possibly have the person run through that many number of operations. That would not be a very good training ground for new nurses, right? So you want to be able to have ways in which they can do this without actually being in a situation which can be damaging. And so there are things which are happening, whether it is using mixed reality or even haptic sensors, because you can measure how the feel is of a particular equipment, right? So to me, that whole area creates, and similarly, for example, contextual data access. Let's say you have a mechanic sitting up on a tower trying to fix something and needs to understand how this thing works. Can that person immediately have a screen that can show contextually what exactly they need to see at that time without using hands, voice activated, right? Can they see in this if I had to look around it, because the thing is digital, you can't access it, but you can see it on a screen next to you because it has a digital avatar to it, right? So that just, I mean, it's just amazing. Education, think about, being able to understand, I don't know, the circulatory system of the body. If it's completely digitized, you can look at it very, very different ways. So it's just a lot of things one can do, and I won't spend too much time into each one of them. But to us, I think the whole idea of this physical digital mix is creating a different set of opportunities. One can go down the path of being completely social and entertainment, gaming being one of them, of course, virtual reality and gaming in which you are immersed in the game as your own digital avatar, which is part of the game and doing the game, that's another thing which is happening, right? So a lot of that is going to happen, and in fact, that itself has got use cases from multiple dimensions. Then, of course, if you look at productivity and collaboration. So for us, this is a whole new wave of things that are going to happen when the digital and physical start to merge, okay? And it's a very different journey we are on. I want to show you a video that gives you a sense of what I'm talking about, because that makes it very real. So as I mentioned, there are multiple things that one can do in terms of remote assistance and guides, but I'll take you this one video because it just really makes it clear as to what I'm talking about and maybe strike some thoughts with you.
What if there was a way for employees to work together from anywhere when everything is on the line? Employees are the heart of every business. It's their resourcefulness, ingenuity, and drive that get the job done. But even the best employees need help from people who aren't there with them. Now employees on site can work side by side with experts in remote locations. In an instant, they can share what they see, lend a helping hand, walk through the process step by step, helping solve problems in real time. This is a new vision for work. Now employees can work smarter and bring in the people they need with just a tap. They can troubleshoot, repair, and perform with confidence and speed. They can move freely, pull critical information into view, and stay focused on the task. Their hands free to do the work. This is collaborative problem solving at full speed. Your people, united across time and distance, more connected, more informed, and more efficient. Now employees can work together from anywhere. They can go there without being there. This isn't the future. This is here and now.
So that's just an example of a simple situation where an expert was able to come in and help in terms of addressing the particular problem solving. But think about disaster response. Think about very specialized pediatric cardiology. I mean, think about some of the situations where the experts are very, very few, right? How are you going to use this kind of technology to have their expertise available in a way that in a remote location, for example? So to me, it's just a whole range of business opportunities that this merging of digital and physical can provide to you, and we're just starting on that journey, quite honestly. But I'll leave with a couple of thoughts. So I obviously, and many of the leaders in this space think about the fact that as we are going in this direction, where more and more of us is up there in the digital avatar, more and more of your lives and your home and things are up there in the digital world. What does it mean? What does it mean? And so one of the things that we think about a lot is, well, you can do all this as long as you can trust that wherever your data is, whoever has your identity, whoever has your personal information, you can trust. That becomes very important. And within trust, there are elements of course, security, privacy. But one element which I'll spend a few minutes and then close this is that of responsibility. Because as more and more algorithms start to tell you what you should read, they are also determining your thinking. They're also determining your ideology. They're also determining what you see, what you don't see, what information you consume, what you don't consume, right? And there is a responsibility behind that because that is who you become in a very simplistic manner, right? And we've got globally multiple situations wherein that trust has really played out in interesting ways. So I think we think about this whole, and it plays on so many ways. Job recommendations. How does an algorithm make a choice about who to recommend for a job? What was the data it was trained on? Has it been tested for the fact that it is unbiased? Is it has it been tested to make sure that it is being fair? Can you actually be shown transparently as to why a decision was made? So these are topics which are close to my heart, and many leaders in the organization, and we spend good amount of time thinking, debating, creating guidelines, creating awareness in the community about these issues as one thinks about this digital and physical world that is coalescing, and more algorithms are running our lives as to what does it mean for the world forward. And each one of you should take your time to get yourself aware of these issues and be cognizant when you think about applying artificial intelligence. Thank you. That's pretty much all I have.